Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to week number 6 of the UCL. This is the Upsurge Contenders League. My name is Benny Love. I'll be your play-by-play caster today. With me is the wonderfully talented Alec Battery. How you doing today?
Thank you, man. That was a really warm welcome. I feel very tender, loving. But here in the Infernal Division, we're gonna have a really pretty fun game to watch. We got Recon 5 Green versus US Army Esports, and we got a 5-0 team in Recon who have already locked themselves in for playoffs versus one of these teams in US Army that are trying to look for either an upset win or a really important key victory with kind of just the middle of the pack really just being super locked next to each other.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head there. Looking at the standings right now, we're seeing the 5-0 right at the top, which you always love to see. Those are some of the most fun games to cast because sometimes you wonder it's going to be a trap game kind of thing. But yeah, the U.S. Army Esports tied for kind of the third place at 2 and 3 with Brevity Outbreak and Indiana University. Ending in week number 6 with 3-3 records, going to be a lot better place for them moving into the final 7th week. So high hopes, but at the same time, Recon 5 Green. I mean, you know them pretty well. They look pretty dang good.
Yeah, Recon 5, they're just here to clean up business. I mean, they got to make sure that they, finish out the season strong. Obviously, they might mess around a little bit more, but between these players, you've got Zadox, Tilted, Loki Dosi, Phoenix, Diomar. All these guys are really, really talented and definitely people to kind of spam in chat. So I'd be interested as we get into this draft, kind of what we tend to see. I think an interesting strategy for them, since they will actually be on red side, is how many of these powerful picks are they willing to kind of drop and see if US Army Esports are willing to pick them up. So things like Ornn, things I think like LeBlanc would actually be really interesting on where they want to drop it. Specifically, top lane matchup, I think is gonna be really interesting between Darius and Diomar.
Yeah, exactly. I think jumping right now into the game, or to the draft, I should say, we were jumping right into it. USA with the first ban of the game, Rek'Sai being taken away from the jungler for Recon 5. As you said, we're going to look at this
Oh,
draft here. It's going to be the most important thing for USA. How do you feel about Recon and the first draft and first bans?
yeah, so they're getting rid of some comfort picks. It's typically what we tend to see down here. With Rek'Sai, taking away that from Zadox, one of his most premier champions. This guy is an absolute beast on the Xerxai Queen. And taking away some mid picks, we see Echo, we see Shaco, which is from Recon 5. Taking away that from It's Me, That's OP. We were
We were just talking about that a little bit
yeah,
ago, right?
these guys, OPGG is really insane. He's a support player, but he's got a lot of games on Shaco. He's been trying out Elise support and has had some mixed success with it. So,
Yeah, I also want to point out too, right? When we talked about Shaco and Elise, you imagine what position that it's OP, it's me, that's OP, that's what he's playing. You'd imagine jungle, right?
mhm.
Well, that's definitely not the case. He's been playing Elise support in D4 for the last like 8 games or something.
Yeah, it's really weird, and it's not even a potential flex, right? Because for USA, you've got Valencia as your jungler, and this guy has just been making really his name on the really great tank engaged champions like Sejuani, like Jarvan. So really not going to see too much flexibility as we finish out the draft with a lot of mid focus, Echo and Cassiopeia, which is well, we've also seen Diomar kind of starting to flex a little bit in that top lane. So I'd be interested to see later into the series if that's something that gets dropped. But Zach and Ornn, really such terrifyingly strong champions. Recon are saying, all right, we're not willing to really hand it over, but instead, actually, we're seeing a blue first pick set. I have a lot of problems with this, but I mean, this kind of just gives Recon ability to just pick a really strong bot lane, like Ezreal Yumi.
Yeah, pretty solid, right? I think it's a great way to round it out. And I think just like we saw in the bans for Recon 5, looking at the comfort picks for USA, Set being the most comfortable pick for their top laner,
Yeah.
one of the only champions this season that he's played more than 10 games. So, giving that away, maybe it'll be a mistake, maybe not. I don't know. We're going to have to find out.
Yeah, I just think there's so many other strong picks. You can obviously still pick for Duras, who last time when we saw him versus High Seven wasn't the strongest member on the lineup, but now we see a Maokai. This is going to be really interesting. We've been seeing Set kind of being flexed across all these different roles, can still be in that position. But if you're on the side of Recon 5, I'm more than willing to take a lot of these matchups. If you have Maokai, you're a little bit now afraid of that top lane. We did also see it in mid lane, not to amazing success, but I
Yeah.
think Camille here for Diomar, who's a champion that he's found a lot of success on, would be definitely the first kind of place to go.
Exactly, and I think with how
Oh,
successful and highly ranked of a player he is individually, Camille will allow him to force some of those engaged, take those fights when he wants. As you said, Caitlyn being picked into the Ezreal Yumi, yeah, a little bit of a safer matchup here, trying to be a little bit more aggressive, force them back. And also, one more point about the Maokai before we jump too far away from it. It's also one of those strange picks that we're seeing in the support position for
yeah.
it's me, that's OP. It's like his third most played support, so that's actually like a three-way flex. We could see that Maokai pick.
Oh, oh my God. I mean, as soon as I see Caitlyn, I'm like, okay, Caitlyn Maokai versus Ezreal Yumi. You've got a pretty decent amount of poke between the two. And I mean, Maokai is again a really great champion to just kind of lock down Ezreal even through the arcane shift. But picking up Olaf on that third pick right there is just so devastating. It becomes so difficult to deal with. You have someone like Yumi giving him additional healing and that mobility. It's really honestly going to be really interesting to see U.S. Army try to kind of problem solve through that champion.
Definitely. It's one of those champions that you're seeing in the carry position for the jungler side. Second wave of bans are coming in now. Syndra being taken away from you. Definitely, probably a good pick. You were looking at some of the damage and the potential for them to take those fights, to pick people off. Syndra being one of those main picks that we're seeing in the mid lane. Aurelia being taken away in the top lane. Makes sense again as you're looking at that grandmaster top laner. There's a lot of picks that I wouldn't want to play against if I was going up against DMR. So
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we also see stuff like Aatrox being taken away. We can also see a couple more mid picks. I think Zoe, LeBlanc might be things that you want to be taking away from Tilted. I mean, there's just a lot that is on the table that is, potentially there. Maybe we even see Silas make it through the ban phase. Diana's also someone that we'd have to take a look at for Recon 5. Tilted can definitely kind of master this champion. And if against USA's team comp so far, I think they're going to have a really difficult job trying to peel away from certain champions. So like they're actually going to take away the Kassadin, make sure he doesn't have that much mobility. Now, if you're Recon 5, your solo lanes are going to have counter pick. At least one of them is. And so got to be really careful here as you can pick a much more meta blind champion. I think Gangplank would be interesting. Again, we still have Camille, Aatrox are still available. I would prefer if they just give this Tilted versus Alacrity. Oh,
ooh, Morgana.
okay.
Also a position that we could potentially see flexed around either the mid or the top lane, although I don't know how commonly we see DMR playing that in the top lane, although we've seen him pick some other mage picks up there before. But, you always like the flexibility, especially in
Yeah.
drafts like this, when you're in a league, you're competing against other teams that you see week in and week out. That's always a good sign. But for USA, hopefully we're seeing either a little bit more engaged, like the Jarvan pick,
Yeah,
very good early
Jarvan.
game, going to give them more pressure and hopefully try to force his way onto the back line of the Ezreal, potentially, if they can force that arcane shift out.
Yeah,
But I like the early game pick here for the jungler for USA.
yeah, I mean, giving Valencia something that still has a little bit of damage in the Jarvan, but is still that reliable tank engage is something that we're always looking for. And Nivea being hovered here by US Army. Now for Recon 5, probably going to be Diana. Yeah, so the Diana for Alacrity. Alacrity has just been spamming Diana. We saw it last time in his game against 5-7. He did a pretty decent job all by himself. But Recon 5 has a really beautiful team comp here. I wasn't really considering the Morgana for mid lane, but she is gonna, I mean, this creates a whole host of problems for USA as they have a lot of champions that want to go in. And when you have Olaf, Yumi, Ezreal, Morgana, all of these champions are just absolutely beautiful. Renekton to even round it out, you get a great carry in top lane who's also does really well into these melee champions. The only ranged here is Caitlyn for US Army. This is going to be really difficult for them to try to execute in team fights where they want to go into this, and Recon 5 are saying, sure, come in. We'll give you a group hug. We'll take you all down. You're not going to be able to kill us.
Yeah, those changes coming out for the Morgana are going to really cause havoc for USA. And I think it's very interesting that they opted to go for double dive with the Jarvan and the Diana with the Morgana already being locked in. That really looks like they're going to try to commit to get onto that Ezreal and take him down. But he's not really that main source of damage, or I guess just the primary source of damage. That Olaf, especially with the Yumi to the mid to late game, is going to be so very difficult to deal with. You can't peel him off. Yumi's going to provide him that CC, that lockdown to get that Caitlyn in place. And you got Renekton also that can dive straight to that backline. And I don't know. I think it's going to be very difficult unless USA can find a way to snowball early and try to break these teams up and pick people off into that mid game.
Yeah, I think what Yumi does to team compositions is she makes it basically a stat check at this point. Yumi is purely a stat check champion in a different kind of sense than what we see with brawlers, where if you can't burst whoever she's on, or if she's by herself, if you can't immediately kill that champion that she's attached to, you're almost it's more than likely that you're not going to kill that champion ever. We see it constantly where you almost kill an Ezreal or you almost kill an ADC, you almost kill this Olaf, and then all of a sudden, all of that healing that comes out of Yuumi just immediately kind of puts them back to full, and you're stuck with no ultimate cooldowns. You're in a really dangerous position where you committed a lot, and now you get nothing from it. And when you have someone like Ezreal Morgana, they're looking to poke, make sure that they're utilizing the bindings and the mystic shots to try and keep you out range. And then you kill Ezreal, it's like, okay, cool, we've killed the Ezreal, but now we're in a certain amount of range where Olaf and Renekton are going to thrive with the Yuumi on top of them.
Exactly that. And as you said, when coming down to the stat check, as long as Loki Dosi has the ability to position correctly in these fights, they're just going to continue to scale, and it's going to be very, very difficult. At the same time, though, for USA playing into this comp, I do like the kind of the direction they took as a team. At least they have one focus in mind, they've got a game plan, and it's all about diving and trying to eliminate whoever Yuumi is on, taking her out before these fights really get out of hand. So at the very least, they're going to be playing with the same mission in mind. And at least if they got that cooperation, they got the synergy in place, maybe they can make some stuff happen.
Yeah, I think that there's some clear, like you were saying, you want to go for those dives. You have Set, who's amazing at setting up a potential with that showstopper on the ultimate. But it feels like as soon as any kind of vision is put down, they're going to be stopped. I'd be interested to see how we play around this bot side with Talented and It's Me, that's OP. If you're able to lock down with that Caitlyn Maokai early on against Ezreal Yuumi, then sure that this lane will start to take off. And really, Ezreal Yuumi are going to be playing so far behind that when you're playing as Ezreal, you have that tier, you're waiting on Sheen, you're waiting for Triforce or Iceborne Gauntlet. It is really, really rough to play that laning phase. And here for Ezreal, if he wants to, he can just itemize into blue Ezreal where you're taking Blade of the Ruin King, you're taking Iceborne Gauntlet. And even though we have a pretty one-note team where it's full physical damage, Diana being the only exception here, and obviously some Maokai interaction. We're not expecting too much damage from Maokai, but there's a lot of armor that can be built for Recon 5 pretty freely. Zonia's Hourglass here for Morgana. US Army, they've made it, they've given themselves a few minutes. I'd say the first 15 minutes is where we're going to see some success, but after that is where we're going to have to see how this team continues and how they kind of thrive in a situation where, hey, the odds are stacked against us, we need to find a way in.
And I think that you hit upon it a little bit there a couple moments ago. The only matchup I think they're going to have that advantage is that early game. Diana into Morgana. That's such a safe pick, and it's going to be really difficult for Diana to either find that lane prio. Exactly. You're not going to get that prio. You're not going to be able to roam. You really can't jump on to the Morgana with that black shield, and if she's got her binding or chains up. So there's not going to be as much mid priority as you would like to see from a Diana. And so same with the Jarvan going in the top lane. Renekton, a really, really strong early game champion. And hopefully he's able to lock down that set, which again, for Dio, who's one of the strongest competitors in this league, you really can't expect him not to have that pressure. So it's going to come down to Talented, and It's Me, that's OP on his Maokai to really try to lock down this Ezreal and try to find some sort of lead that they can translate into that mid game.
Every AD carry player feels really bad when there's an Olaf on the enemy champion.
Team. There's nothing. He's like, what do I do?
All right, that's very cool. Like Olaf Renekton with a Yuumi. It's like, all right, so let's figure out. Let's try to immediately put down the stopwatch. All right, how much time do I have to actually live before my entire team? So you get through this early game on Caitlyn, right? You get USA Army. Let's assume that they get this early game. They need to be able to transition this Caitlyn into a much more powerful position, because otherwise we're going to see an early lead against Ezreal Yuumi, and then nothing's done with that. Caitlyn's going to move into mid lane, and then suddenly Olaf, Renekton, Morgana, all these champions are going to start roaming onto her, and no one's going to be able to defend her. Set, I think, loses pretty early on. We'll have a pretty okay matchup. I think it goes pretty even because of that Haymaker. Jarvan, again, can't out-farm this Olaf, and Diana, like you're saying, is never going to have priority or be able to move out of this lane. So we were talking about this bot lane. Loki, Dosi, and Phoenix have always done really, really well, whether it be here, whether it be House of Ghouls, anywhere else. They've done really well with just playing low resource bot lane. So
Yeah, and I think that's all I have to do, right? Just play
yeah,
that weak side. Going into Iceborne Gauntlet's going to be one of the best ideas I could see here. They don't necessarily need that damage and gives them a little bit more of that soft CC. When you're looking at that threat range that Caitlyn needs to sit at, that threshold, I mean, there's so many things she's got to sit at coming into the mid game, right? You got Morgana Black Shield on the Renekton, the Olaf running at you. It's going to be really difficult. And as an AD
USA
carry
Army,
player
I believe.
myself, I'm like, ooh, yeah. So with that though, I think we're going to be taking a short break here as teams are jumping into game. We have one of our sponsors that we want to thank. We're very grateful to Sector 6 for supporting us. So we're going to send you over to one of their ads right before we jump into the first game of the series. So thank you guys for tuning in.
Started with a vision of quality, a vision of uniformity. We took the time to create something familiar yet refreshing, something with a bit of change.
Designed to fit any brand's unique vision.
Jumping right into game number 1. Welcome back to the UCL. We got our USA boys versus the Recon 5 Green. We got a stacked matchup coming into week number 6 with our 5-0 team. Is Recon gonna drop a game here? I don't know. Alk Battery, what do you think?
Expectation, just a clean 2-0. However, it is still a human game. There are still people playing behind this, and I think that if there was ever a time to make an upset, US Army, this is the time to do it, buddy. This is the series that you're gonna need probably to get that leg up upon the competition, where everyone's tied at 3rd, tied at 5th, a 3-way tie for 5th. I mean, you're gonna need some of these wins. So, I mean, already putting Tilted to 50 HP.
Yeah, I'm blocking him in. Look at the Peacemaker. Gonna force the recall coming into the 1-minute mark. Breaking down the teams, though, before we get too far ahead of ourselves. Looking at the blue side, we got our U.S. Army Esports, Duras in the top lane, Valencia in the jungle, Alacrity in the mid lane position, and rounding at the bot lane, we have Talented and It's Me, that's OP.
A little bit
Putting
more
some harass
trading.
on.
I mean, they're just generating gold at this point, right? You got on the right side here, on red side, we've got Recon 5 green with Diomar in the top lane, Zadox in jungle, Tilted in mid lane, like you're saying, bot lane rounded out by Loki Dosi and Phoenix. But, I mean, that's a lot of free poke that they just get right there. That's me, it's OP.
Yeah, you got to take advantage of those early games, right? For me, I think this is a trap game for Recon. You know, looking at the team, you're expected. You're definitely not the underdog going into this match.
Yeah, already seeing early gank pressure, just making sure to push him out of the lane. Kind of in an awkward position here with where the lane is in bot lane specifically, because now Caitlyn just keeps you out of range, and you're never able to really walk into the bushes, which is where kind of the Yuumi wants to reside in. Make sure you get that pressure off with the passive. But all of these saplings are just doing so much work. I mean, he's already way far ahead in terms of gold, 52 here for the Yuumi, but 97, I mean, it's not too much, but he's getting a lot of free early poke and kind of wasting, or starting to at least drain some of that mana early on.
And I really hope that Valencia takes advantage of that. We expected that going into the draft, seeing more priority, seeing that pressure in the bot. So I'm expecting some early dragons, some early, maybe even some invades going onto that bot side of the map, because that's the only advantage we're going to see, at least in my opinion, just from the laning phase going into this first game.
Yeah, and our first dragon is going to be a Cloud Drake. I really hope both of these teams,
Oh, top lane real quick. Facebreaker does miss, and that's a clean trade for Dio. Haymaker does land on the outside.
Yeah, that's actually a net positive win here for Duris, as not only does he have the Aftershock, but Set just naturally has the Grit passive, not only giving him obviously that shield that we see from the Haymaker, but he has increased health regen, so Diomar's gonna have to try and life steal this back up, utilizing all of those rage stacks, and doing really well for himself, Duris. Even with Diomar, oh wait, both junglers are here now with mid lane.
Coming on the outside. Ooh, the undertow, forcing the flash coming out from the top laner. Flash from Diomar gets the first blood. Finding return kill for the side of Recon. Teleport coming in from Tilted, trying to find a follow. Valencia does take down Dio. There goes the flag. And that might just be it, though, with an advantage going over to the US Army Esports with the priority. We didn't think we'd see it from the Diana, but she was able to roam up there and really provide that assistance. And the teleport coming into the top side. Doesn't think we're gonna see more action.
Nah, not too much going on right there. Great job from USA Army getting that early gank off, immediately pulls Alacrity. Tilted backs out of that mid lane and is not able to really respond in time. So we see 2 kills going over, one of them to Valencia, and Alacrity getting the second one there. Duris living for a really long time and having to force some extra summoners from Zadox and Diomar is really what we want to see early on. So great job from US Army, and I'd like to see what they do with now Renekton no longer having flash and being able to abuse maybe a TP timer from the Morgana early on.
Exactly. That TP advantage, I think, is going to be huge. Duris not having to burn his wave wasn't in the best of places. He almost escaped, actually, if Dio wasn't able to follow with that flash. Trades in the top side. Don't really want to take that. Oh, the Haymaker on top of all the minion damage. That's a positive trade there. Both top laners don't have to worry about mana. Oh, but the sustain, the lockdown.
And it was going to walk much with the Ruthless Predator. Really important thing here is not only, as we see Alacrity just try to take a little bit of a trade versus Tilted, one of the great things about this Maokai pick here is these saplings turn into little bit of wards. We saw that he actually was able to get early vision onto Zadox being in that bot side, pings it, moves over. Alacrity goes under. Oh no.
Oh, going down in the mid lane. A real touchy situation.
Alacrity is in such a huge deficit now. He utilizes a TP, flashes right under turret, and the ultimate goes down. He's a level over Tilted here. And with Zadox just being there, it's really unlucky timing.
It's up by farm, and with that pressure, we knew that the jungler was heading up to the top side. Looks like US Army does pick up the first dragon of the game, though, with the Cloud.
Yeah, picking up the Cloud, really important for this team. Obviously, just taking it away, I think there's a lot more utility taking it away from Recon 5 than maybe for them. Obviously, having Cataclysm a little bit early, specifically having that Diana ultimate available, the Moonfall, the shield is going to be really important as more and more members potentially get sucked into it. But this is a pretty fantastic early game. Not too far ahead in gold.
Looking at the top side, ultimate pop by Diomar. Called to me, cover some of that health, but now we're seeing Zadox into the top lane. Not even going to burn Ragnarok. He just pops up with a great flank, not sighted any vision, and picks up The kill on the top just teleported back as well, so he's in a real sticky situation now once he respawns.
Yeah, and Diomar is doing a fantastic job there, trying to recover at least some of the lead. Now that's the key. Uh-oh. A bit far.
Present Strike does land onto the Ezreal. It's me, that's OP, forced to fall back. Not real tanky yet in this early game portion. Really just relying on those sampling costs to poke him down.
Yeah, he has the Arcane Comet, so he's not going to have any Aftershock. He's not going to have too many resistances. So now that we're here, we're about 7 minutes into the game, and only about an 800 lead here for Recon 5 specifically after getting that kill back onto your top laner. I want to take a look at where some of these waves are. This top lane is constantly pushing for Darius, and I think that's going to be an advantage, obviously, for Diomar, because he's been just constantly freezing this lane right in front of his turret, and like we saw right there, Zadox is able to get a pretty fantastic gank. Mid lane, like we've been saying, has actually been pushing a lot in Alacrity's favor, where he's able to push it out, and we saw that early roam. Bot lane has been, for Recon 5, just catching a lot of these minions, and specifically because it's because of this Maokai, really has not been too punished other than this early flash that we've seen coming out.
And now we're entering the 7 to 8 minute mark, so we're going to see if that pressure in the mid lane is going to be enough for them to maybe buy some room for the Rift Herald that's about to spawn on the US Army. Doing a great job picking up the dragon, so they only really have to prioritize that top side of the map, knowing the bot side does have that pressure.
We see a couple of pings going down onto the bot side. Alacrity
Oh, in the
going
mid lane, there it goes. The Moonfall drops. There's a lot of damage. There go the chains, though, onto Alacrity, forcing the slow with the stun. Preston Strike does land onto Tilt. The follow-up looks like they're going to end in a stalemate here.
Both junglers are coming mid lane. We could potentially see a gank, although they do have a lot of vision in that bot side. Just take a look at that line of vision going straight from mid lane all the way to bot. There's no way that Zadox crosses any of this river without knowing. Now Valencia down a level.
Ooh, and stopping the recall actually from Alacrity coming in the backside. Ragnarok does land onto Valencia, but he drops. Look at that health recovery. The Dark Binding also lands onto Alacrity from that bot side brush, and that's 2 kills going over to the side of Recon. On the top side, more actions breaking out, and looks like Juris is going to...
Yeah, and look at this. Diomar has a 2-level lead. He's crushing a massive wave up here, so he should at least get an extra plate for himself here. And this is also the patch where plates got buffed, so 160 gold instead of 120. Already 2 of those gone mid lane, but I mean, that what was looking like a pretty bad early game here for Recon 5 has turned absolutely kind of face up at this point. But yeah, Zadox getting that free double kill right there, punishing Valencia. You're never gonna really be able to duel the Olaf unless you have a massive numbers discrepancy or able to lock him down early.
Exactly. And not just that, but look at the timing. You were talking about waves not that long ago, but look at the timing, turning it around, pushing that top wave, pushing that bot wave around, knowing they just took out Valencia in that mid-side bot jungle. So they had all the pressure in the world to take that Rift Herald and get more invades. This is the second time, actually, we're seeing Zadox in the top jungle just taking away more of the... Which is very unfortunate for the Jarvan that we wanted to see from Valencia. We needed to see some of that early game to really put the US Army in a position to translate to that mid game. And I think Zadox is kind of just running away with it.
Yeah, I mean, this is just what happens when you have basically almost a level and a half level lead here for Diomar. He's able to just freely walk his jungler in. They're just walking in like the bully bros. We see even in Zadox, he's able to get that Rift Herald, immediately moves mid just to push Alacrity out of this lane. And this just becomes more and more difficult for the side of USA Army Esports. They have to be able to find a way to try to unlock one of these lanes. Specifically, I would think Talented and It's Me That's OP, get them out of the
coming in back to the Luna Rush and the Moonfall landing on the backside. And look at the Cataclysm of the Duncan and diving. But the lifesteal was almost enough. There's the shutdown though on to Zadox. They're going to back up, but both players walking away by the skin of their teeth. And that is not enough. Loki Dosi comes away with the big old true shot barrage to pick it up, trading that 1-for-1. And that was close. That was almost
That's really how you want to start fights, really. I mean, if you are on Valencia, if you're playing this Jarvan, get that Cataclysm down first and then worry about getting that knockup. Because as soon as you go in the flag and drag first, you're stuck in this really awkward position where you're playing against Morgana and Olaf, who can both Ragnarok or utilize the Black Shield. Diomar trying to take a pretty big trade. Durst has to be really careful here. He doesn't have enough grid, and by the time he stacks enough, he might be too low versus this Renekton. But
yeah, kind of step back here, go for that regen. And I like you basically hit the nail on the head there. You're right. That's like a classic Rorschach situation there. You're not stuck in here with me. You're kind of stuck in here, or I'm not with you, you're stuck in here with me. I would not want to be the J4 that's there stuck with the Conqueror.
No.
Honestly, I was a little bit shook too in that situation, watching him recover that health, getting his stack.
Maybe in that situation I'd want to be the Jarvan, right? Maybe they did get the kill on Zadox, so it's like, oh, you know, I'll take the trade there. That's 450 gold plus that shutdown.
True, very true. We're 12 minutes in the game as we're into the mid game, though. I imagine the Olaf isn't going to be walking around alone, and he's going to have his cat buddy sitting on his shoulder, and it's going to make those trades a lot more.
Ocean Drake. It's not the old Ocean Drake where you get health and mana. But now that they have 3 people in mid, I'm a little bit confused with some of this lane priority. I guess they just want Caitlyn sitting in a solo lane. You have Alacrity, you have double melee, which would be really great lockdown into someone like the Ezreal and the Yuumi. But you kind of leave some of your priority a little bit off. Now coming over the wall, flash from Maokai.
That was another true shot barrage, gonna miss.
Eventually a dive here.
And here comes Zadox, will get sighted on the Saplings, gonna force the Ragnarok to avoid the slow Lunar Rush onto the Ezreal. He's going to Arcane Shift back in, maybe as a mistake. Teleport coming in also from the set, flashing with the Facebreaker on the backside. That's a lot of damage. Tilted, going back up a little bit, but the Showstopper drags them away. Look at that damage. Olaf, wait a minute. Now from the Yuumi on the back line, though, another great place for Alacrity to sit. Or maybe not. We see the triple go from the Olaf as he runs away with it with the cat buddy.
What?
There goes the Yuumi and the Zoomies.
That was such an... I mean, that was looking like such an awesome play there for US Army Esports. They're able to kind of turn it around. Loki Dosi, I think, loses track of the fact that it's still Diana and kind of gets bursted down way too fast. Arcane shifts pretty haphazardly right back in, dies for it. And that was looking like an amazing fight. A dive that went absolutely poorly, especially when you have someone like Maokai who's able to use the Twisted Advance as well as the ultimate right there. It becomes so difficult to try and get a pretty successful dive. But then they're not able to then utilize some of that damage onto Zadox and Phoenix. And they don't have any, you know, the only person that has any kind of grievous wounds is the Caitlyn.
Who wasn't present in that fight.
Exactly. Who's mid lane farming.
And I thought they might have had it. I like the position that Alacrity had, forcing her way back to the tower, jumping right onto the Ezreal. Again, he made the biggest mistake. Arcane shifting back into the Diana. But that Olaf, the healing, it is so ridiculous with that Yuumi over.
So Yuumi does this thing with Olaf that I'm gonna crown Yuumi may go boomy, makes the mental go boomy. It's really insane. Like, we just see him with Conqueror fully stacked, and he's just, I mean, he's sub 100 health and just straight up 1v3ing some of these champions. Olaf is going to continue being this kind of powerhouse, and look at this.
Top lane. There goes a Predator, Call of the Meek, forcing the ultimate from the Renekton. He's gonna run him down. That armor penetration's ridiculous. As Diamar just kind of comes away with it looks to be an even fight. Uses that ultimate and just pops the set in the top.
Yeah, if I'm set here, I don't want to go for Phage. Renekton, most cases, is going to come towards me, and so I'd like something like we see in the second itemization in the Stinger. You get so much extra attack speed, and set with attack speed is actually really dangerous to deal with, and as well as getting that 10% cooldown reduction is trust, it does a lot more for this lane than this Phage. Getting a little bit of movement speed, getting 200 health is not really what's going to save you, especially since you already have Aftershock in this lane. You can pick up that Ninja Tabbies and you do a lot better for yourself, at least early on. But since we're already here 15 minutes in, I want to just kind of check in with some of these lanes. I mean, there is a level lead across every single lane except bot lane. Phoenix on this Yuumi's 2 levels up. Now we see Tilted.
Yeah, if you're looking at the gold, actually, both AD carries are sitting at the same amount of health. Actually, on the bot side, gonna have him locked down. The Crescent Strike will pick up the kill. A bright spot there on the side of US Army, but trading the neutral objective on the top side is gonna get pinged out.
Yeah, I think I think we can see a pretty clear disconnect with Recon 5 and playing weak side right here, because Tilted, you notice, hey, my jungler's on top side, my bot lane is sitting in mid with our Renekton. I should just play back. I'm playing this Morgana where I can just farm the wave pretty easily. Yes, he does lose the turret here, and the Rift Herald does go over in favor of Zadox, but if that doesn't happen, you can hold that turret and you can basically play pretty freely. You have Diana who's now stuck in this lane. TP coming out from Tilted. I think he's just trying to stop a back here from Alacrity. Diomar's here as well.
Maybe in a difficult position here. The Glacial Augment and the Ghosties will knock him down. And then rush on to Tilted, trying to escape. Protobelt almost buying enough space. Does.
Oh, Valencia.
And with the flash will allow them to escape. Oh, in the jungle, we're seeing the ultimate coming out from the Yuumi onto the backline. There's the counter coming from Maokai trying to buy some space, but Zadox is in the backline. Look at that damage. Ragnarok has popped. He's healing. He's got so little health, but will get shut down by the Crescent Strike. The rest of the US Army Esports will back up to that. Olaf, not quite yet that unkillable beast, but still enough to force all those recalls and buy room for Dragon, which will spawn in 6 seconds for Recon 5 green.
So many important interactions there missed. I mean, you don't knock away the Olaf there because he is unstoppable with that ult with the Ragnarok going off, but just unposition yourself out of that area. Make sure that, I mean, we even saw Duras try to use this showstopper, quite mistimed right there, as he's not able to actually pull the Olaf. So, I mean, this is just you take the bot lane turret here. Duras,
look at the dives
here.
The Soul Shackles coming out from Tilted. Looks like they were almost going to dive that bot lane of US Army. And as you said, this jungle position is not where you want to fight. When you're looking at the final chapter, when you're looking at the Tainted Soil from the Morgana, there's so much space in that choked area where you just take passive damage, passive CC, allowing the Olaf just to run you down and jump right onto that backline.
Oh, and a Mountain Drake to boot. It's like nothing's going up if you're on the side of USA Army Esports. I mean, you have the Mountain Drake, which is just going to make this even tougher for champions like the Diana, who are not going to passively be building penetration items. So getting a Mountain Drake where you're updating, or you're getting an upgrade in 6% armor and magic boost, you might have to hold that Zadox and Tilted going in on mid.
There we go. The Zoomies letting onto the knockout. They're going to switch targets though onto Tilted, who does get locked down. True Shot Barrage trying to give the kill over to their AD carry. Lunar Rush does not deal enough damage. I thought that might have been a risky situation there, giving the kill over to the AD carry. It, alas, was not. And that's really the highlight that you'd like to see from the US Army. The bot lane had that pressure. Caitlyn had the farm lead, but wasn't able to find any kills. And now it's the Ezreal that's going to take over this mid to late game here. So Rift Herald is spawned in the mid lane. They're going to be knocking on that first inhibitor tower. And they got to be so careful of the siege. You got to avoid any of those dark bindings. You can't overstep.
Thankfully, they have some pretty good tools. Again, Nature's Grasp for Maokai is a pretty big deterrent. Yes, he is under level, but you're really, as a tank, just looking to have levels instead of items. So he is a pretty okay deterrent for them, as well as, you know, the set stun that comes out with the face smash. But this was something that we had pointed out from drafts. Now that we're about 20 minutes into the game, where does US Army kind of find their, you know, where they want to play through? Bot lane didn't find a super massive lead. Top lane was never going to be a smash of a lane, and you got mid in this jungle. This Olaf versus Jarvan matchup is not at all favored for Jarvan. Jarvan is just looking to play better in these team fights, make sure that he's locking down Olaf. Ideally, you're using Cataclysm on Olaf. He doesn't have flash, and you just, you know, you utilize the, oh my god, blue buff going over. You just get the flag and drag, you know, onto the other members. You make Olaf kind of be like, well, I guess I'm waiting in baby jail.
I mean, ideally, you don't really want to play the J4 into an Olaf that has a Yuumi over top. But yeah, I think they might have missed that opportunity. As we're coming into the later point of this game, they might have just missed that chance to run away with it, because at this point in the game, they just don't have the tools to take any of these fights 5v5. They also don't have the summoner spells to take a map play, as there's 3 teleports on the side of Recon to the 2 on Army. So you lose a lot of that map pressure. You lose a lot of the ability to just rotate and make random plays, random picks across the map.
And it actually looks, despite us having 3 TPs, we're still going to play 4-1. We're still going to play basically 4 people just sitting in mid lane, just trading ping-ponging ways. They might be looking for a fight as Tilted uses the water soaker. Just wants to make sure, hey, are you awake? He's like, it's like spritzing the cat. It's like, hey,
hey,
stop. It's not your jungle. Get out.
Yeah, shoot. Mine.
Exactly. These are my raptors.
Yeah, at this point, it basically is a formality, as you're just going to watch US Army slowly lose everything around them. Here comes the last-ditch effort play, though, as we're seeing Alacrity try to jump into the back line. Uses the stopwatch, diving on, and actually getting real low. We do see Tilted does drop, but that's not the damage dealer on the side of Recon. As actually a great
Talented.
spot for Dio. He does get locked down by the traps. Will get blocked by all the team members for Recon.
Oh, Loki Dosi. Wait a minute, Loki.
Oh, and another unfortunate arcane shift forward. It survives by the skin of his teeth. Will take that tower, and here comes Rush the dive. Talented though, now getting ran down. Undertow does land onto 2, forcing the flash. The Maokai dies for the Caitlyn Sins, and Caitlyn does go down as well. 8-17. It looked almost like a great position for US Army. They did find that quick pick onto Tilt, but the mobility, the heals, looks like all of Recon's going to walk away with almost all their health back.
Again, what was looking like a beautiful kind of setup for them, and honestly, a little bit of a whoopsie coming out from the side of Recon ends up ending in disaster for the side of US Army. They had a great setup where they're kind of forcing a dive under turret. You see a lot of the members on the side of Recon 5 start to go down. They're actually going to start looking for TP force plays here.
Oh, and look at the reaction speed coming out from Recon, immediately jumping onto that teleport, not going to give US Army a chance to steal this. No Fnatic
Valencia can't
GP
even
games.
steal it. Where is he? He's not even in position. He's waiting.
Yeah, I don't really know what Set's plan was. You know, maybe he would have thrown like a little weak haymaker over the side.
Oh no.
Oh, there's
goodbye.
Valencia. He does do the flag and drags through the Renekton, and honestly, he's just trying to escape with his life.
Oh, wait a minute.
On the backside, Smite does come out from Zadox, confirming the kill. Moonfall does land onto the Olaf. He does drop. Multiple members of the blue side are actually still alive. Yumi stuck in the back of the pit. Just not a whole lot she can do, trying to get over to Tilted, who's walking to the edge of the pit. Doesn't quite make
Loki.
it. Oh, and on the backside, they do get taken out, and for somehow, some way, most of the members lose the bear, and Tilted's the last one. And
Yeah,
that's actually a real positive play there for US Army.
For sure. I mean, that's a basically negative Baron power play right there. So great job, Recon 5. There's 2 members here looking to potentially contest. Tilted, looking for the kill onto Tilt.
Oh, and unfortunately for that little net, it does only send you in a straight line. Yumi, wait.
Yumi got the kill! I don't understand.
Wait,
Wait a minute.
Showstopper lands onto the Morgana. She does not. She's not going to take any of that. No, none of that sass. She puts the set down, and with the Baron, somehow they actually walk away with the ace. Look at that.
Yeah, I mean, they get a glorified ace right there. There's no Mountain Drake, and it's back to back, like just making, you know, pretty great plays. You're able to kill 4 members on the backside right there. Loki does clean up a little bit on the end there, but you get rid of 4 members on the Baron. That's pretty great. Yes, you give it over, but Morgana's the only one with it. And then we overextend, and Morgana's able to 1v2.
And I think in that situation, though, if you're US Army, it's probably not the worst play. You know you're in the 1v2 situation. It's Morgana. It's not the champion on the enemy team that's been getting most of the gold. You know, before those 2 kills, she was sitting. I guess she was sitting at 3-3 since Yumi got one of them somehow.
I'm still kind of confused how Yumi got that. It's got to be the area, right? Like somehow.
Or redemption. Maybe it was redemption. Maybe I actually didn't see it. But, you know, I would assume, too, as Caitlyn set, you could take down the Morgana. And honestly, I think that's a nail in the coffin here. If the mid lane support Morgana can 1v2 your 2 one of the stronger members for your team, honestly. I shouldn't say Set's not really stronger at this point.
Are we going to say, yeah, I was going to say,
I guess he's 1-6.
I'd like you to make the argument as to why we see Darius as a strong champion right now. Alacrity, really, I mean, the Diana is putting in so much work into this team. Really getting into that backline. We saw in that Baron fight that Moonfall hits 3 members inside of that Cataclysm, and it just feels like, you know, at this point now there's just a leash. We're going to continue on with some of the pet names here, as Alacrity is going to go missing.
Yeah, after Trap Barrage does go through, going to force.
Wait a minute.
The Zonias will survive. The inhibitor tower has fallen. On the bot side, though, we're also seeing more actions. Renekton and DMR is trying to pressure. On the mid lane, though, back there, Loki Doski will destroy the inhibitor, forcing the final chapter out from the Yumi. They're just going to zone them out.
Yeah, there's a couple of key ultimates here, but Loki just playing really dangerously far up.
Oh, gets way too close. Loki Dosi playing with fire. Showstopper and the face breaker will get taken out. On the back line, though, seeing Alacrity forcing the Moonfall onto 3 champions. DMR does drop pretty low. Doesn't have the Fury to heal back up from the Call of the Meek. And that's actually a pretty decent pickup there. 4 members. But double kill over to Tilted. Flag and Drag trying to knock them up. Do they have the damage? Valencia, and it's me, that's OP. It's me, that's OP. Chopping onto the Morgana, but maybe it's a mistake. There goes the Zonias. No Tilted Soil, though. Tainted Soil. I'm just kind of tilted watching this, actually, as I'm seeing Morgana that might win the 1v2. Not quite. Valencia does pick up I think that was going to be real difficult. We're seeing a full tank J4. We are seeing a full AP Maokai, which I think might be a mistake. I don't know if they necessarily need that damage from Maokai. I would personally rather see a tank Maokai with multiple rotations coming out, but
Yeah, I mean, they do need a front line that isn't just Valencia at this point, and Set is not providing that same kind of utility, but that was looking like an amazing fight. Yet again, Alacrity and Talented, amazing target selection as well, and being able to put backline damage. We saw Talented immediately move into that side near mid lane, and he's able to just fire away freely as the rest of Recon are trying to focus down the Diana while through the stasis on Zonias. So beautiful start to that fight. And then yet again, they're kind of playing into this, they're playing into that sustain. You have the Ocean Drake that's taking away. It isn't a lot of HP, but you are still kind of trying to kill a Morgana who's regenerating a lot from two members who don't particularly do a lot of damage. Obviously, Maokai with the Leandries now will start to pump in. But Zadox, he's actually starting to fall pretty fast. He only has the staircase, so a lot of health, but not a lot of resistances.
Damn, there goes a Cataclysm onto the backline, though. Final chapter in Ragnarok is popped, but look at Valencia able to take all of that damage. Ragnarok will fall in just a little bit. Showstopper onto the backline. Ezreal does escape. Multiple ultimates burned on the backline. Moonfall does land, and it's avoided, though, by the Zonias, popped by both mid. Zadox is running around the backside, has healed up, and the rest of it is taken out by the double kill from Diomar with the flank. And I think that's going to be all she wrote. Yeah, something I was going to talk about before that fight was the positioning from Loki Dosi. I mean, honestly, I think these fights could have been over a little bit earlier if he didn't take so much damage, getting so close to those showstoppers, but avoided it right there, did not take any extra damage, and you're just going to run away with the rest of that fight, and that's going to be game number 1, solidified by Recon 5. Pretty much how we predicted it, kind of entering that mid to late game. I think entering the 15-minute mark, there wasn't a whole lot of room, a whole lot of footholds, really, that U.S. Army could get a even in the couple of picks they found, even Tilted, the support mid lane Morgana, who was sitting at a 19-stack Medjais at the end of the game, was kind of burning through everyone.
Yeah, those are some really great flanks. Specifically, again, Diomar kind of facilitating a lot of this game where he's able to grab a lot of that top line pressure, kill Set solo multiple times. Zadox is then able to invade topside, and really what prevents Alacrity from getting a blue buff, not just the Maokai saplings, but I mean, that was a beautiful couple of team fights. Again, I think a lot of pretty glaring mistakes here from Recon 5, but US Army are not able to really capitalize on it just because of how far behind they've set themselves, not only in game, but this draft was really some question marks were kind of put forth by us.
And I think for the team fighting for the most part was actually one of the strongest elements for this U.S. Army esports team. They knew who to prioritize when they were targeting. They knew how to play front to back for the most part, and they engaged on the right people. I didn't really see too many fights where they left the table with any of their ultimates or any of their tools unused. So going into game number 2, maybe I'm hoping to see a draft that kind of takes advantage of more late game focused fights or late game focused champions, I should say. So if they make it to this point in the game where things are relatively even, they have a better chance of maybe outscaling Recon.
Or just don't draft 3 losing lanes.
Or maybe don't draft 3 losing lanes. That's a big point. The big question mark, I think, is going to be in that top side, Set being really that only champion that Jurist really plays. A lot, I should say. So I think that's going to be the big question mark, either drafting something that plays really well around the set, a great team fighting comp in that regard, or maybe we're going to see it mixed up a little bit. I don't really know, but we're going to take a short break, though, as we set the stage for game number 2 between these two teams in this best of 3 series. Thank you guys for tuning in. This is week 6 of the UCL. We'll be back in just a little bit. And we're back after that short break, and we're back to week number 6, Recon 5 Green versus the USA Army Esports. This is game number 2, and we're jumping right back into picking bands. Alec Battery, how did you like that first game, and what should we be expecting in this?
Not a big fan of game 1. I think USA Army or US Army could have really set themselves up for a little bit more success. At least pick something a little bit more unique. Maybe even play through Alacrity, right? Like, this man has been constantly playing this champion Diana and has always looked really, really good on it. So as we come into game 2, we even take a look at some of the pick ban. It's basically the same, except now for these third round bans, we're putting Syndra and Olaf a little bit ahead of the priority this time.
Yeah, and I like that Olaf ban. That's something that's they didn't really have the answer for. The only times they really found those eliminations when it was maybe 4 or 5 people all around that Olaf diving onto that back line. The Yuumi, though, is kind of the big question mark. We're going to have to see if Recon 5 picks that up. We are seeing a lot of high contested picks. Oh, actually, seeing the Cassiopeia fall through. That was banned away in the first game.
Yeah. This is a great top lane flex pick. I don't think Loki's going to play it, but if he does, wouldn't be surprised. Diomar has been putting a lot of work into this champion. He's been playing it a little bit more recently, so I wouldn't be surprised if Recon 5 are willing to flex this for both of their solo lanes. And now for the side of USA or US Army, it becomes really difficult to try to find some answers, right? You want to be able to pick up a really strong bot lane. You could pick yourselves up some top and jungle. I wouldn't be surprised if we see stuff like Sejuani with the Yorick, who we have seen US Army play before. Specifically, Duras was able to pick up at least a game win versus high 7 on this champion, split pushing constantly. He looked pretty good on it. He wasn't an amazing one of the more impactful members, but being able to constantly split push against a team like Recon 5, if you're able to play this draft in a specific way, I think would be really, really interesting. And now we're seeing the Ahri, which was another thing that we had also seen from the side when we saw in their last game that we saw on broadcast versus high 7.
Yeah, and Alacrity played pretty solidly, all things given, going to the last game on Diana. So another mobile assassin pick. It does look like both of the solo laners are locked in for USA. So whether or not that's a good thing, we're going to have to find out, as they were the lane. Yuumi being picked up again for Recon 5.
Please pick Ezreal. Just make it easy. You can just pick Ezreal right here. You can also pick Misfortune if you really want to. Ezreal will just do really well into Yorick and Ahri. The problem I have, again, with US Army right here is, please don't let this be Glacial Augment Ahri. If you want them to actually do damage and contribute to a team, if you're gonna unlock Alacrity, make sure he's not playing a supportive style where you have Hextech GLP, you have the Spooky Ghost. It's not going to work the same. Yes, you have amazing lockdown onto someone like Cassiopeia with this Ahri, but you already have that inherently with the kit that she has, especially with someone like Yorick. If she doesn't have Flash, you already have her locked down. I think it's a little bit of overkill to try and go for some of these supportive items. So please do not let this be Glacial Augment Ahri.
Well, we'll see when we jump into the actual champion select. And as you said, it's all about that stat check, right? If they don't have that bonus damage, if Ahri can't break through that Yuumi early on, we kind of saw what happened last game. There comes Misfortune being picked up for US Army. Yeah, pretty standard bot lane. I wasn't really sure what we'd see from Recon when you're seeing the Cassiopeia. That gives you more of a DPS magic damage threat. So it opens up the door for some more unique picks in the bot lane. Maybe if we'd see some Funnel Senna, things like that. But if it's not broke, don't fix it. Ezreal Yuumi being locked in again. And
so they're more than likely scouting out that Cassiopeia is going to be topside, so they want to just get rid of they want to get rid of LeBlanc here. They're probably going to also pick up a jungler here. If not, they're going to ban Aurelia/Kassadin like we saw. That could be on the table for them. Wouldn't be surprised if we also start to see jungle start getting pinched a little bit, as both of the jungles are still available. If you're on the side of Recon, however, Kassadin's going to be the last ban there. But if you're on the side of Recon, you're banning out supports. You're getting rid of stuff that has major lockdown. Nautilus, Leona. Wouldn't be surprised if we even see something, potentially the Elise to lock down Yuumi. I mean, that would be an okay matchup. There's the Nautilus.
Maokai's also still up, although I don't know if Maokai was one of those threat picks.
Maokai did more damage. Maokai did more damage than the top laner that game. Okay,
that's fair. That's fair.
At this point, Maokai I don't think was an issue. I think some of the itemization might have been.
You're right. Leandri's Maokai is something that I would expect to continue to deal damage, but you're right. I don't know what to expect coming up from the support side for US Army. I imagine that's what we're going to see first pick here. No reason to hold back for the counter. Although, to be fair, your support pick can sway your draft one way or the other. Rammus being locked in.
It's Elise! It's Elise!
It is Elise.
Oh my god. Okay,
All right.
you might actually be able to see Elise support. Please let
Elise
this be Elise support for that's that it's me, that's OP. It might not be. You still have a lot of flexibility with the pick, but
I just want to
it'd
see
be
what
really
it
exciting.
does, right? I kind of want to see. I've never seen this in action. They've got 12 games worth of experience for the Elise support in Diamond, so I really want to see what all the fuss is. Lee Sid being locked in for Recon 5 Green. And there you go. There's some more early game pressure coming out of the side of the winning team from game.
Hey, you still have Aurelia. You still have a lot of great mages here. Zoe, specifically against Ari, you might want to go against something. You might also pick an AD mid laner.
Yep.
Aurelia was something
Aurelia, that was something banned. Something that paired decently well with the or Set.
Okay, so Set versus Yorick. Not a great matchup, but that definitely just neutralizes any kind of split push that maybe Yorick wants to. Although team fights are going to be really interesting for US Army, as they're going to more than likely going to be 4v5 in a lot of them unless TP is available.
Mm-hmm. And I kind of like this actually for US Army looking at this draft. If they do want to opt for more of a split pushing style play here, they do have a decent amount of wave clear. They have a lot of pressure, and they got a lot of disengaged tools. When you're looking at the Ari, you're looking at the bullet rain. You have a lot of tools to kind of escape from Recon 5. They don't necessarily have the most tools to just lock down USA to force some of these fights. So if they do opt for more of a split pushing style to close this game out, they might have the right tools here.
Yeah, Ezreal Yumi's going to have a pretty tough time trying to poke down Yorick and Sejuani. It's going to be kind of a rough kind of game they're going to have to play here. Lee Sin's also going to be really, really awkward in trying to find Dragon Rage, trying to find an engage specifically onto Ari and Misfortune, as Ari can really quickly turn any kind of engage sideways with that charm. So what I'm expecting from Recon 5 is hit the ground running. Specifically, top lane would do really well if you're able to get some pretty early game ganks onto Yorick, neutralize that laning phase, and make sure that Set can then roam across the lane. Cassiopeia is just going to have to be... Cassiopeia is going to have really insane positioning. Tilted's going to have to be on his feet for this one, or I guess his scales. Because you have Ari, Yorick, Sejuani, and Elise who are all going to be gunning to try and get onto your position. And with Misfortune, like you're saying, applying that bullet rain, Recon 5 are going to have... This is going to be a lot more difficult of a draft to execute than what we saw in Game 1.
Exactly. And I think it's going to come down to that early game. Do they have the tools? Do they have the pressure to move around, get their players on? I think a lot of the arcane shifts forward that we saw from Loki Dosi might almost be necessary in this fight here, where they're going to have to try to poke people down. They're going to have to try to be aggressive and force some of these picks. That's what I'm really going to have to look for. I think the player to watch is going to have to be Zadox on that Lee Sin. How well he can open up, find some of these crazy... Because the later this game goes, Durst is going to continue to scale. He's going to open up the... And as a whole, we got a whole lot of other things to look at, like Elise support. Just pulling up the stat sheet here, out of their last 8 games, they played Elise support 7 times. The only other time the support was played that wasn't Elise, we saw Maokai. So,
yeah,
it's
how often have you really kind of practiced against Elise support? I can't really say it'd be probably anything more than, fingers on your hands, like on one hand. You probably haven't played against it ever, really. And I think it's going to be a really kind of a skill test here for Recon 5 as Loki Dosi and Phoenix. We've already gotten a taste of what their Ezreal Yuumi is kind of like. Yuumi's not going to have too many great targets to try to kind of bounce between. I think Cassiopeia would be the most obvious one, especially with Set on your team. But what we've seen from Loki Dosi, I think this Ezreal might actually be a trap and might actually be really good for US Army, as we're seeing flashbacks going into Arcane Shift forward. You die under turret.
Right into the Sejuani.
Might actually be a bait.
The Ari charms. Maybe. I actually think, no more I'm thinking about this Elise might be where it's at. You got the summon spiderlings to block out some of those mystic shots. She can repel to avoid the final chapter, the Yuumi ultimate. Maybe this Elise is the secret anti-Yuumi pick.
The anti-Yuumi sauce right here.
Yep, I'm looking at it. One of the games, actually, one of the best games that she played was actually into a Yuumi Ezreal bot lane. So
I think
dumpster.
it does really well into mage matchups, but I'm just really surprised we haven't seen any kind of melee matchups. We're not seeing these tanks. We only saw the Maokai, and even that was kind of going to mage with Arcane, the Arcane Comet, as well as the Leandries. So coming into this game, first 15 minutes yet again going to be really important for US Army. You have such a great comp that can scale later into this game with Misfortune, with Sejuani and Yorick. Make sure that you actually get to that point, because this Lee Sin, we've already seen Zadox have a pretty aggressive jungling style where he's able to utilize some of that lane pressure. And if Tilted and Diomar are able to put that forth with specifically with Set and Cassiopeia, then I think that this will be yet another game where Zadox kind of runs over and allows his team kind of get into position with a lot of itemization.
And as long as Tilted, though, comes online and has the tools to cut through these tanks, Recon's going to have a great chance coming to this late game. I think it's going to come down to team fighting. But as a whole, last second swap. Dio in the top lane with the Cassiopeia, like we saw, is sitting at that 71% win rate. I think the set into the mid lane Ahri is a way more difficult matchup, but that will give a huge edge over to Dio in the top lane. Okay, we're going to walk away with it.
Good. There we are. What we prepped for. This is what I was prepping for. The Cassiopeia to go top lane. Diomar, he's going to have a field day against Yorick. However, I actually think this might be another trap of a champion matchup. Yorick, as soon as he locks you down, you really don't have the kind of attack speed to try to deal with the cage.
Yep, yes, you're kind of stuck in. It's going to be a DPS battle, the machine gun Cassiopeia versus the big old shovel dunk coming out from Yorick.
Yeah, and when you have Sejuani to try to kind of synergize with those passive stacks for permafrost, it'll be really difficult for Diomar to really exist with a flash available.
Yeah. But we've got 2 ad reads coming up next. We got 2 sponsors that we've got to highlight before we jump into this game to find out who comes out on top. First one we're looking at is Kono Keyboard. If you are looking to take your game to the next level, it all starts with your peripherals. From keyboards to keycaps, mice, and more, our friends at Kono have got you covered. Kono works with the world's best designers, inventors, and makers to bring you some of the best gaming peripherals around. Kono have been huge supporters of us here at Upsurge and have made generous contributions to our prize pools. If you need to find a new keyboard, make sure you check out the Hexgears X1 RGB low-profile Bluetooth mechanical keyboard. You can use the discount code UpsurgeGG for 7% off your first order. And for more information, head over to the Konos.store to check out all they have to offer. That's KONO.store. Kono, discover amazing products. Also, another quick one we got is Midwest Esports. They're big supporters of us. Midwest Esports has been around for many years, starting as a small student group out of Wichita State University. Since then, Midwest Esports has grown to be a veteran organizer to tournaments and events throughout the U.S. They host tournaments for games like League of Legends, Rocket League, as well as Overwatch. So for more information about them, check out them at themidwestesports.com. That is midwestesports.com. Thank you guys for tuning in to the UCL. This is week number 6 between U.S. Army Esports and Recon 5 Green. We're going to be back with game number 2 in just a little bit. And we're back with the match of the century here. We're going to find out, ladies and gentlemen, what beats what. Cat versus Spider in the bot lane. Let's see if our boys on the Recon 5 green team can walk away with this 2-0 victory, or will the U.S. Army Esports team tie it all up? And we're going to see a game 3. Seeing a stack now in the mid lane. Hey, there we go. This gives us some time. Alec Battery, you were talking a little bit actually before we jumped into the game about this top lane. We did see at the last second the swap from Cassiopeia going into the mid lane to the top lane. Diomar sitting at a 71% win rate on Cassiopeia top. But you're saying this might not be the best matchup actually into that Yorick. You were talking a little bit about it before. You want to break that down as we're sitting in the pause?
Yeah, on paper, obviously Cassiopeia will always run right through a Yorick. Does have Conqueror instead of something like Phase Rush, so really won't have that kind of mobility that we might expect from a Cassiopeia. But as soon as the Wall of Ghouls comes out from the Yorick, and if there's ever a jungler intervention, this Cassiopeia is gonna get kind of skinned instantly. You're not doing too much. You're gonna be stuck under a lot of CC, as well as if that ultimate's available once we hit level 6. 2v2, I actually do expect for Durus and Valencia to win. So coming out of this pause, we might even see an early invade. Cocoon does not land, so we're gonna have to watch early game. I mean, at least probably not gonna be doing too much starting that Cocoon.
Yeah, first one does whiff. I'm trying to think of the combination in the bot side here. Luckily, it's a single target. She does land it onto Loki Dosi. Probably get slowed then by making. And from there, I guess you all in. I guess the bot lane all in.
You can still buffer it, right? Like you can still buffer that animation where you get hit by it and just arc and shift backwards.
Exactly. Yep. So maybe it's a prediction. It's going to come down to the Mad Life Cocoons. Just I don't know how many times it's ever been said.
I don't think I ever want to hear Mad Life Cocoon in my entire life ever. Like
I actually
honestly
can't imagine.
If I can live without that, like for my entire career of like playing this game, I think I'll consider that a success.
Well, here we are though. We're coming into the UCL Week 6, where it's my first time watching our good old support Elise, and I'm expecting great, pretty standard starts though. Both junglers starting on the bot side. Lee Sin against that Sejuani.
I don't think he actually gets spotted out by this ward on the bot side. I just want to check for myself. Yeah, he's actually right in that fog of war, not able to get spotted. So that early ward from Alacrity, not going to do too much. They will know that he hasn't started his Raptors, so more than likely either going for a full clear after a couple of seconds. They'll know, hey, maybe he's either doing his Krugs, going right into that bot side for a gank, or he's going to head straight top side. I like these early wards specifically. We see that one that's right in front of the really good ward for the side of Recon 5 on this going into those Raptor pits. It just gets that right in that cross where Sejuani's not going to really be able to avoid it. They'll know that she'll have started bot side. You'll get a little bit of early jungle information, and specifically this gives Diomar a lot of safety with his jungler being able to communicate with him, saying, hey, want to play safe, and we just want to take a look at where top lane is right now. Yeah, top lane looks like it's going to start pushing in favor of Diomar, where it's going to come into his turret. Durus kind of taking a little bit of a bad trade with some of these pushes.
Yep. And as expected, as you said there, and not quite pushing quite into Durus, but Zadox will secure that level 3 and his top clear before Sejuani does. She did not opt to go for those Raptors, opting right for her red for that early gank, and that ward just ran out, so Zadox is going to miss Valencia. They walk right past each other, and Diomar might be in for the first gank of the game here. There goes the charge, forcing the flash. Here comes the lockdown. Teleport coming in from the mid lane as well. Set trying to get there in time, but Diomar will barely escape. Flash coming out from Durus.
Oh no!
Enough, but will drop to the tower. First blood goes down. Teleport was canceled, and here comes Zadox to bring it all up, forcing the second elimination for the side of Recon.
I feel like I'm having deja vu where top lane gets ganked. I see TP come in for mid laner. Jungler almost gets first blood. Where have I seen? I'm getting flashbacks to game 1.
Yeah, that was insane. That was real messy there, as we saw the flash coming out from Durus trying to find that execute. Maybe didn't have last rights up. Couldn't find the execute there. Had to auto attack a couple times, so ended up just. And then Zadox, a little late to the party, but just in time to wrap up that second kill. Oh, the Facebreaker does land onto Alacrity. Charm does land onto Zadox. Does the Sonic.
Ooh, if he lands that Haymaker, there's no way that Zadox doesn't just immediately go in. There's no...
wait, at least. Oh, here comes the bot lane. Look at the priority coming up from the Oh,
Nice
my game
job.
actually paused here, unfortunately.
Nice job there from the side of USA Esports. Seeing in about 4.5 minutes. Able to just get that free first kill right there. Flash coming in from Zadox is not able to do too much. We'd seen that TP earlier from Tilted gets canceled by the Ari's Charm. Kind of just sits there. So good job from the side of US Army Esports. Not able to do too much right there. And really, I mean, Valencia is doing a really great job just kind of pressuring all across the map now.
There we go. Looks like I've caught up there. Facebreaker does land onto the Elise, and the flash follow-up. Tilted does find the kill. There was so much action going on, it decided to stall my own game out.
You were really surprised. You were like, oh my god, the Elise supporter actually worked.
It is, and it just paused. I saw the cocoon, and I'm like, oh my, what's going on? And then everything just froze, and I was like, my computer can't
handle the Elise support. I wouldn't either.
Thank you, though. We're now back to the action. Everything's all timed up perfectly, and Recon is now leading the game with a 200 goal lead. 3, not that substantial, and I think for our U.S. Army, they're sitting in a much favorable spot than they were last game. Oh, Duraso getting ran down by Diomar.
Elise is top lane. All right, so they've just completely abandoned Talented. They're like, look, Talented, you're gonna have to just deal with this. You're going into Ezreal Yuumi. We're gonna have to just force something top lane.
And they do know Diomar doesn't have flash, though. Locking down the Avalanche, he will just go straight down, and unfortunately, Duras just kind of leaves her to die there. And that is not what you want to see. You really don't want to see your support Elise roaming to the top side of the map just to give the enemy Cassiopeia.
All right, Benny, I want you to visualize this with me. Everyone at home, you can do the same as well. Don't hold that. Tilted taking a bit of a trade. Cloudric is gonna go over to the side of Recon 5, but I think we're gonna have a few moments here as everyone's starting to get back into the lanes. I want everyone to just don't close your eyes if you're watching this stream, but Benny, I want you to close your eyes real quick. Okay.
All right.
Imagine you're playing a solo. Imagine you're playing a solo lane, right? And you're like, okay, I'm playing bot lane. You know, I have an Elise support. It's already a little bit weird, but hey, you know, I'm not going to take it away from people. If people are really talented, you know, might be just what you get for that extra LP. Your support roams to another lane and then dies. And you're playing AC right here. You're like, okay, so what's up with that? You die bot lane once, and then you go top lane, you give over a free kill. Now, you do get Diomar's ultimate, but already, like you're saying, not a hot look. There is
not a hot look. Here comes the backline, though. Dur's barely surviving. Here comes the gank that's coming up from Valencia. The permafrost does land. Diomar will likely escape. Not enough healing coming out from the Conqueror. And I have to agree with you, though. If I was watching this and I wasn't sure if it was solo queue or not, I'd be a bit of a tilter there if my Elise is just drumming around the map. Maybe it's about the solo XP, you know? Actually,
she's level 3. I mean, look, my ADC is level 6. You get a little bit of a
there you go.
lead.
Solo XP. You know, they're not behind in farm, so it's working out in that regard.
Yeah.
But I agree. I mean, who feels worse, though, Duras or Talented? You know, you're just walking up and your Elise just comes into your lane and just gets ulted and just dies. You know, that's the second kill going over to Diomar. But
Diomar does end up dying, right? Like, he does have to blow the TP here. He doesn't have enough mana. He doesn't have enough health. And again, Valencia punishes that. I like how this is a lot different from what we saw from the first game where Durs gets so far behind, you can no longer punish Diomar. And in this case, he's playing a little bit of he's playing a champion that is obviously a lot different. You don't have that early game skirmish. You don't have that mobility that is afforded to you as Renekton. And so now Valencia is actually able to kind of correctly punish it, although a little bit of a few mistakes from other members right here.
And I think I'm going to really enjoy Valencia on this tankier pick. That's what they're primarily playing in solo queue. And I think, you know, they continue to make plays, continue to force a lot of those engages in the last one. But as a whole, Sejuani is going to provide so much more utility over that Jarvan as we enter these later portions of the game.
Yeah, for sure.
Look at all the movement on the top side here.
You have no other melees, however, that can proc your permafrost. So it's like, well, take what we can get at this point.
Does Elise in Spider count as a melee?
Yes, it does. Now DMR here with the Valencia.
Oh, X-Smithy. Both ultimates actually whiff on the outside, but Force stuck in that box just like as you said earlier on. But just come away with the kill. Here comes the Facebreaker landing onto two. Alacrity and Valencia forced to back up here. Unfortunately, Alacrity avoids the Star Showstopper. Great spot there. Haymaker does avoid, or does get dodged by Valencia. She flashes away. Now Zadok's left to run down. Valencia lands the Sonic Wave, but gets popped. That's going to be a great pickup there. The Showstopper does land, does not force the set over the wall, not drag. You see the question mark ping. A lot of interesting interactions there.
I mean, just get tank gameplayed right there. That was amazing, right? I mean, Valencia is able to escape.
Yeah, the pop, permafrost, aftershock, boom that comes out from the completed Cinderhulk might have been enough to really take apart that Lee Sin. Yeah, that was very interesting.
Like a pretty okay play. Now Alacrity pretty low. Tilted's here. Oh,
Oh, so close, barely escaping. Does get locked down. Ignite still ticking. Talented, or Tilted, I should say, does drop.
Thankfully, Talented hasn't died yet. But that was looking like a really great fight for the side of Recon 5. I mean, Diomar is able to go 1-for-1 in that trade for Duris. Now, the flash was good. You're able to kind of avoid that Sejuani ultimate. But the ultimate, you know, the Petrifying Gaze didn't quite land.
Didn't quite get the mouse movement back in time, you know?
Averted the eyes. You're like, I do not see. But then we just see an amazing turnaround. Tilted and Zadox are not able to quite put out enough damage to try to deal with Alacrity, who had just used a Spirit Rush to try to kind of deal with some of the mobility. And Zadox missed a really key Sonic wave at the beginning of that fight. And the important thing here, as we continue on about 11 minutes in, Elise is just constantly roaming. She's saying, look, I'm not a champion who really needs an ultimate, right? You obviously get it at level 1. You're not looking for levels. You're going for those surprise early game ganks. Now, Tilted.
Well, there goes the Cocoon landing onto the set. Not enough burst though to pull them down. And wow, almost one-shots the Elite. But as you said earlier, I'm loving the way... Oh, gotta hold my breath here for a second. True Shot Barrage doesn't quite land onto the... but I am loving the movement and the footwork coming up from Alacrity. As you're talking about the last fight. Oh, just get hit by the face breaker. And the showstopper to run him down and charge! Oh! It wasn't enough. I would not have expected that. I feel very bad if I was set. Why is the Elite still in my lane? With the great combination, they're trying to run down Alacrity. Escaped once more by the skin of her teeth. Lockdown under tower.
Elise has more gold than Yumi somehow. I don't get this. Like, she has... Just want to take a look at some of the item generation. 218. Yeah, she has almost twice as much now going on a Talented. Does have to force the flash here, but I am taking this trade if I'm on the side of US Army. You even get the Ocean Drake, which is fantastic for someone like Duris on this Yorick. So, amazing.
This is how you... Yeah, as you said, maybe that's how you play the Elite support too. Like, it's basically a double jungle. Your AD carry is doing a great job actually in this kind of 1v1.5 lane that you got going on.
Hey, come on, Yumi's more than 1.5 champions. Here we go.
Cocoon. Yeah, and that's just kind of what I'm surprised hasn't happened yet. I'm surprised we haven't just seen Arcane Shift final. And the top lane just missed it. Actually, Rift Herald also spawned. Big plays being made for Recon on the top side. We're going to see a dive on the bot. As Valencia maybe recall it.
Diomar, great job setting that up. Just puts down the miasma, sets it up early. He can't move, gets the stun with the Petrifying Gaze, just rails right into him, and then right as Yorick gets out of the Petrifying Gaze stun, immediately the Dragon's Rage come out. All of that damage coming out of the turret, 330 going over to the side. Not just that, but also all those turret plates. Again, 160 gold now on this patch. Just means extra cash in the pockets of the solo lanes and jungle. Red buff being taken by Elise, like you're saying, it's just a double jungle.
Yeah, and what I'm really disappointed with, though, is that they didn't even attempt to dive on the bot side. Rift Herald was taken down. You need to expect that they're going to go for that play on the top side. And they had all the tools with the Elise to look for a dive onto the Ezreal, onto the Yumi, and they just didn't take it. So I'm also very surprised, too, we aren't seeing that on the flip side, that engage and that pressure coming out from that Ezreal Yumi. I guess maybe not knowing where the Elise is at. I don't even say Elise that often. I'm trying to say Evelyn support. I don't know what I'm trying to say here.
If you're on the side of Ezreal, you're willing to take this matchup. Obviously, if you're going up against a Misfortune, she will out-damage you in a lot of cases, unless you are going to be facing against a pretty early Sheen itemization from Ezreal. But Loki Dosi and Yumi saying, we'll take this trade. I'll take a free laning phase where I don't have to do too much now.
More action. There goes the face breaker onto Valencia. Going to force him to back up. And now Alacrity in the back lane. Gonna jump right back over. Bullet time over the top. And Diomar in a bad situation here, trying to escape from the Elise. Oh, look at the flash safeguard there from Zadox, keeping their teammates alive. And that fight's now getting turned around as Loki Dosi turns it around, coming around the outside, does pick up the rest of US Army forced to retreat, scattered. And that was a close call, very close call. Great save there by the Lee Sin.
Just barely Loki Dosi
Oh, another showstopper under tower. Alacrity is going to get away again. That's a tilter. Tilted goes down to Talon.
Yeah, and he doesn't pull him quite over the wall. I think that's what he was expecting with the showstopper, but it's just an instantaneous drop right onto the back line right there. And it was looking like a great fight for the side of Recon 5. You're able to turn, do a lot more damage. Now, Cassiopeia gets locked down with that Sejuani Glacial Prison, and then has to kind of blow the flash, and then they're able to just turn. It takes too much time to try and kill the backline of Recon 5 while the Ezreal's just free firing. Might actually see Diomar go down yet again.
There's the miasma, but there's nothing to dodge. They already used the dash with the permafrost. But look at the trade, the damage coming out. He is already at 5 and 3. Does almost have a completed the injury. He's going to run them down. Elise almost going to escape. You don't even need phase rush. Does use the repel. Look at those fancy feet. Elise running through her own jungle.
That's a lot of feet.
Through Loki Dosi. That is a lot of feet.
Wait,
I think she's out.
He's actually wasting so much time here.
Yeah, and all you see in the top side, Durus just smacking away at the second tower, and that's a clean execute by the support Elise. 200, and this is a great position actually for U.S. Army to be in. Sitting out here with a gold lead, 1 kill lead, and an actual real method and approach that they can enter this late game and open up the map.
Yeah, I mean, Elise is just providing a lot of utility for this team. If not only you get those roams, you now have a kind of a question mark, a ghost in the shell, as we see Zadox gets engaged upon. It might just still be a free turret Spirit Rush coming out.
Looks like they were trying to save it, and the Sonic Wave does land. Final chapter on to Alacrity. Not going to survive this time. Bullet time over top will take down Zadox and the Yuumi. And now Loki Dosi forced to flash, trying to escape. Not going to have the ability to escape. That's Cloud Drake on the. I actually don't even really get any movement speed anymore, so they're just faster than Ezreal. That's.
Yeah, I mean,
they're just faster than them.
You got 5 people. I would hope that it's not the same thing with the Elise, where she's getting movement speed from being in spider form. But this game is going from good to worse right now for the side of Recon 5. You have a lot of members who are just falling behind pretty early. Tilted has not had an amazing game, and while Diomar is picking up kills, he's also getting put pretty far behind, not only in solo kills, or solo deaths, but we're also seeing that Elise. We were gonna try and get back to this point, but Elise is not only providing great gank assists where she's coming into lanes that are not necessarily expecting it to happen, where now you have double jungle like we had alluded to, but we're now also seeing that Elise is just wasting a lot of time. Yeah,
it's kind of like the taunt, like the global taunt, like you dare play Elise support in my game. Trisha Project over top, Sonic Wave does land onto the Mountain Drake. Showstopper brings him into the backline, forcing Valencia away from the Drake. Hasn't been secured yet, but now the fight's breaking down on all different sides. There goes DMR on the backside. Twin Fang does take out Talented. The jungler blue team does pick up Mountain Drake. Coming on the rest of the fight though. Great flash. Showstopper onto 2. Alacrity trying to go over the outside. Quadra kill for Dio. Are they going to give it? There goes the charm. And pick up a kill in return.
It might be too long. It looks like they're just looking for it. They know where Cassiopeia is. Alacrity.
Here goes the Haymaker, avoids it. The Showstopper trying to hold on to it. The Miasma Twin Fang, and that's godlike, but no Penta? That was no. That was
20 seconds. It was 20 seconds.
It did not feel that long. That's unfortunate. It's an unofficial thing.
It was an unofficial.
We'll give you the fantasy points for that.
I'm so confused. I just want to check where Zadox is. Yeah, he has 640 on his smite, so that dragon was kind of getting extended. 1200, 800. He gets killed right at that 800 mark, and it takes Set really trying to take down that dragon for them to get the mount. If they would have given that over to the side of U.S. Army, it wouldn't have been obviously game-breaking, but it is one of those things where it is 6% armor and magic resist for people who aren't really building it, and specifically someone like Yorick and Sejuani. They benefit greatly from that. So Rip Herald's now going over to the side of Recon 5, and while that wasn't an amazing fight for them, now they've hit a lot of great item power spikes. Trinity Force finish. That point as
right there into the Cassio ulti alt. Sonic Wave does land into Durus. He does drop, and now the biggest thing that I was going to highlight before all these fights broke out was I don't know if they have a consistent way to engage, but I guess you don't need a consistent way to engage if you just fight around these objectives and force them at where you know all these people are going to be standing. And I gotta say, hats off to Tilted though.
It is fog difference. Oh, nice.
Great kick from the Lee Sin, pushing Valencia over onto that machine gun snake lady. Bullet time over top. They're kind of safe actually in the crook of that. And now they're just finding pick left and right.
It just feels like the first 15 minutes we weren't actually playing with the real Recon 5 right here. I mean, they were playing absolutely, like, it was a little bit questionable. The Elite's kind of threw him for a loop. Tilted here now.
Showstopper forcing the repel from the Elite. She will flash and escape. Tilted now on the wrong side of a bad situation as he
That's
gets taken out. There we go.
There we go. We got it now. There we
It's
go.
all been righted. All been righted. Yep, DMR's 10-3, and we're watching the Set jump under tower. But also, going back to the Dragon fight, though, Set had such a great job forcing Valencia, show-stopping him away from the Dragon. He had 3 or 4 very key face breakers on multiple members, CCing them, allowing DMR to just to lock them down, kind of taking away that priority. And that's something that Set does really, really well. He just kind of gets in your face, and you can't really think about anything else. You can't really think about prioritizing your targets because you're just being punched to death by this Birdman.
Yeah, I like to think that, well, he's actually half a no, but oh no, Loki Dosi yet again,
double teleport actually come from the top side. This bot lane's in a bad situation. The ultimate doesn't quite land, but will slow them enough. Facebreaker does stop Valencia, gonna force him to jump over the. And now we're gonna swap sides here as US Army trying to run into the enemy jungle. Alacrity will escape over the wall, but Valencia now in a bad situation. Does land the permafrost haymaker over top.
There it is.
But now they're getting collapsed on by DMR. Zadox is on a rampage as DMR goes legendary. Showstopper over the wall, and Set cleans up the last one. That's a almost clean.
That should just be Baron.
Should be. They should have the DPS.
Yeah, I mean, you have Cassiopeia, you have the Lee Sin with the Yuumi. It's more than likely going to be a Baron here, and it's felt like back-to-back action here. We go from that Dragon fight, immediately rotate over into this Rift Herald first. We get an amazing fight where we see DMR just completely unload, and again, DMR saying, look, Tilted, keep running under turret. Loki Dosi, keep getting caught up by Ahri. I will solo carry this game. I will make sure that I will be the reason why we kind of just dragging the team across the finish line. To be fair, right, like we had stated this in draft, Set does not have a historically great matchup into Ahri. Really makes it a lot more difficult for him to try to do too much. But Dio is just, I mean, it's kind of like they're just sacrificing bodies so that DMR can be in position.
Exactly.
Tilted and Loki are just taking all of like the skill shots, all the abilities. All right, cool, you guys, you baited them out for me. I'm DMR. Let me show you guys how it's done.
I think this is the game, too, that really highlights the importance of your economy and where your resource priorities should go. When you're looking at all the gold and the kill leads that went over in favor early on when we were tied up, all those kills went in favor of the Sejuani, in favor of the Yorick in the top lane. And unfortunately, those characters just don't have the means to break through and to deal enough damage to take out that Cassiopeia, who's now sitting at 12-3. That Ahri, that Misfortune, they just don't have enough of that gold share to really break through not only the front line, not only the Set and the Yuumi heals, but just the machine gun Conqueror healing damage that comes out from this Cassiopeia.
Vinny, why do we keep getting the boring Mountain Drake souls? Like, come on, give me something more. Give me something a little bit more spicy.
Oh, I want to see the good old ocean drakes with all the bushes.
Yeah, you know, I wasn't complaining about boring ones. It's fine. But seeing the setup, Set is going to be behind them, coming from a flank right now.
Valencia holding on to that permafrost, trying to hold it. Actually does get taken by Zadox. Final chapter popped over top, bullet time. Oh, but right from behind comes Tilted with a giant showstopper. Haymaker finds the double kill actually for the Cassiopeia. Great time, true shot barrage, and that is a clean. And what a flank there. Oh, can you imagine being Misfortune? You're just firing away. You're just blasted. She just starts blasting. And out of nowhere, Set just comes in and just pile drives you from behind.
I mean, imagine being Alacrity right there. You're like, oh, okay, cool. I'm going to use Spirit Rush. We're going to be able to go get some backline damage in. Immediately, DMR's Petrifying Gaze comes down, and they're able to blow him up, make sure that he's not contributing to the fight. And like you're saying, Talented set up for a really great bullet rain, but Tilted comes right on through with the showstopper, and true to its name, completely end US Army's fight over that dragon.
And for the most part, this game looks like it's starting to wrap up here. They're starting to run away with this lead, sitting at about an 8K gold lead. But it was tied very much so up until that mid portion. The team fights, the picks were really going in favor of US Army. They were finding that momentum. They were finding the right plays across the map. But I talked about team fighting last game, and I thought it might have been one of the places that US Army looked kind of strong. This game seems to have flipped that on its head as we're looking at the superb flanks coming out from Recon. We're looking at the great targeting, the great peel, and just the tempo. Constantly fighting, constantly forcing these fights. They're not letting any of the split pushing get started. as we're seeing Zadox trying to pick a fight here with the Yorick.
It needs to be really respectful. He can die very quickly to these ghouls. I think one of the more massive problems is where we saw that this game was pretty even for the most part. Yes, Cassiopeia was getting kills and getting those solo deaths, but there weren't a lot of too many objectives taken. And specifically, take a look at where some of these waves are right now and where some of the turrets still lie here for Recon 5, because while there were a lot of kills going off on the opposite side of the map, Duris was split pushing. He was getting that turret in topside, and because it's too far out in that super long lane, it becomes difficult to try and reoccur more and more gold value to try and overextend for some of that minions. So Duris, his CS numbers are looking quite abysmal, and we've constantly seen both of the mid laners kind of roaming, so there's not a lot of gold. And like you were saying, when you're constantly fighting, the team that is ahead is going to stay ahead.
Another flank flash showstopper. Talented forced to back up. Bullet time does pop, but not enough. We're seeing another flank. Zadox comes in with dragon kicks. Maybe overextends a little bit there. They do kind of just run them through the tower. At this point, we're just kind of having fun, but that was pretty dirty. The flash showstopper.
Turrets that are still alive. They're like, oh well, you know, who cares about a tier 2, right? We're just gonna keep going. Trade 2 for 2 or 2 for 1 right there. Talented. You're not getting that bullet rain off, and that was one of the problems we were taking a look at, right? Tilted and Zadox are going to make that misfortune have a really difficult time with positioning.
Yeah, and I think you were highlighting the Yorick CS numbers, and I think that was one of the biggest issues. We're looking at a great split pushing comp. They have all the tools to either engage or disengage, buying time for Duris just to open up that map. He took 2 towers rather quickly on that top side, but we never saw that ever again. You know, all these fights that broke out, again, were fights that maybe they didn't need to tank. They've been flanked over and over and over again. At what point, as U.S. Army, are you going to start kind of warding those flanks, playing a little bit slowly, not being put in these situations where you have to fight and your Yorick can really get going? But now they got 2 inhibitors down.
Should be a lot easier, hopefully.
Yeah.
Maybe, just a little bit. Valencia, please don't jump over this wall. You're gonna die, buddy. It's not worth it, right? Like, you don't want to give over 600 gold, both with you and your support dying. And really, a lot of this has to tie into Elise, this pick. Yes, it had great early game, but that's basically just Elise. All early game. And now that we're seeing as we come into almost 30 minutes now, or as we're cresting slowly and slowly towards 30 minutes, this Elise pick is falling off like a rock, which is expected of this champion, and not too much early game was done to really do too much. Now, heal coming out from Talented, exhaust as well.
The exhaust. Oh. And classic Lee Sin comp, finding the execute. Comes the flank though, Alacrity in the back line, Haymaker for the barrier. With the shield trying to keep them alive, Showstopper does. And there go the good old Doonies. Oh, great big Cassiopeia ultimate. And yeah, at least, as you said, falling off, traditionally, you look for Elise to find those crazy early game ganks, those early game dives, and picking up a lot of gold for damage, so you kind of become that assassin. Valencia trying to survive here, Arcane Shift forward, doesn't escape the start. And that might be all she wrote.
Yeah, that's 40-second death timers right now, and while Talented is coming back up, this is a pretty big minion wave that can start to, and if anything, the side of Recon can just straight go back up to top lane. Now we see re-engage, getting a little too bit cute for Recon 5.
Yeah, right inside their own fountain. Zadox kicks him back into his own fountain, not quite enough damage. Your GA doesn't survive through that. Haymaker not going to come out in time. Duris does pick up 1 for their troubles, but DMR is currently 19-3-9, does pick up the 20 bomb. There's the double kill.
This guy is basically full build. He has 5 items at 27 minutes. His gold value is 17,000. The highest on the enemy team is 11,000 in York, so a full 6,000, full 2 items, and a pretty clean 2-0 here for Recon 5 Green.
Yes, there's not a whole lot else to say. 23-9, the final stat line for D. I guess there's a reason why you're looking at a 71% Grandmaster top laner on Cassiopeia. That's a thing. But as a whole, a much more exciting game going into this one. Yeah, it was relatively, we can't deny, it was at least looking relatively close the first 12, 13 minutes of the game.
Yeah, and that was just because there was a lot of mistakes. Typically, Recon 5, we've seen in both these games throughout this whole series. The early game has been a little bit messy. It hasn't been as clean. Some of that vision is not doing too much. And specifically, they keep drafting this bot side for Ezreal Yuumi, where you're not necessarily looking to win the lane, and you're not looking to kind of overpower the enemy bot lane. So you don't have too many strong matchups, and specifically in this one, I think there was a lot of pretty weak matchups. I think they did yet. I think Recon 5 actually bit the bullet here and took 3 losing matchups. Set we saw was constantly getting punished. Cassiopeia, yes, he was able to trade with Duris, but as soon as Valencia kept coming top lane, that Cassiopeia kind of started. It was a little bit of a rocky start for them. So I think that this was a lot harder of a team fight or a team composition to execute, and it might have just been that as we saw more and more kills going on to Cassiopeia, now you have an Ezreal who's able to just completely farm out in that game. And really, there's not too much that you can do about it, as Miss Fortune has to plant her feet and kind of sit back while Sejuani and Ari are going forward and kind of pushing the team out of maybe her bullet range.
Yeah, and you look at the damage share, there's just not enough damage coming out whatsoever on the side of. Yeah, you talked about the gold lead, right? I mean, only one member of the side of U.S. Army made over 10,000 gold. And the Alacrity is not as impactful on this Ari, forced so many times to use that Spirit Rush to escape rather than trying to find those picks in the backline as we hoped we would. So, things just fell apart in the mid game. But, as a whole, it's still not the worst place to be for week 6. Well, it's not the best place to be either. But, they were tied for third. There's 3 members tied at 2 and 3, now sitting at 2 and 4. So
this was an expected loss for a lot of teams coming in, obviously, with Recon 5 Green being 6-0 now. Basically, any team that is able to get a win is considered obviously an upset. While we're waiting here, I mean, you guys in chat, you guys still have a little bit of time for vote for your MVP. You got the entirety of the roster here for Recon 5 to pick up, and rightly so. Our producers just showing off the runes, specifically showing the MVP player that you probably should vote. Remember, you guys can still vote right now, but I mean, throughout the whole series, I think a lot of these members, I think the bot lane for Recon 5 was, I'm going to say, stable. I think Loki, Dosi, and Phoenix still have a couple of things to work out between kind of decision making and what they want to do transitioning into mid game, as wasn't too fantastic. We saw in that first game a couple of errors with Micro, with flashing forward into certain things and being a little bit disrespectful for damage. But Tilted had an amazing game 1. Really kind of just playing support for his team and playing kind of third wheel for what the team needs to kind of have for either execution and draft or as they get further into the game. But Zadox and Diomar all series have been really impressive.
And I think looking very strong, prime for playoffs. We got one more week of the regular season. That should be next week. And again, it's a pretty decent prize pool these guys are competing for as we enter into the final weeks of this spring split. But for the most part, solid game between both sides. Again, Recon Esports, Recon 5 Green.
Recon 5 Green, there we go.
Recon 5 Green. There's so many of them. They have a great order. They got a lot of teams. But for the most part,
they got green.
They're looking strong enough and hopefully able to use that momentum going into the playoffs, and at the very least, not dropping games to teams that they shouldn't. But with that, though, I think that will conclude our series for the night. Again, my name is Benny Love, your play-by-play caster. With me was the beautiful Alk Battery as your color. He had a lot of insight. He knew these guys personally, so it gives you a little bit more like skin in the game. I don't know,
yeah, it was a little bit more banter. I got to talk with the boys.
Yeah. So again, thank you guys for tuning in, though, to week number 5 of the Upsurge Esports UCL. We'll be back next week. Have a great night.
Wait. Oh, you got to plug in tomorrow. UPL guys, come on out. We got 100 Thieves next versus Horizon Esports, if I'm
true.
Please
yeah, they didn't have a game last week. Yeah, they didn't. They didn't play last week, so definitely they're coming back tomorrow. So yeah, stay tuned. Come back tomorrow night, same time, and we got a lot of great stuff going on. So this was week 6 of the UPL. UPL's tomorrow. This was UCL. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you guys next time.